Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. We've got some massive news for you this afternoon, and it's that Everton central defender Jarrad Branthwaite has signed a new 4-year contract. And here to run that down with me is my friend John Ruskin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, John. Thanks for coming on for this. So Jarrad Branthwaite, there was some very impressive performances for PSV last season, and he came back to Everton, and there was a major clamour for him to go straight into the team, but he was delayed back in because of missing a little bit of pre-season. Eventually gets himself into the team, and he hasn't looked back, has he? He's been absolutely fantastic in that central defence. Although he wasn't particularly good against Luton, I think overall he's showing that he's Everton's first choice left-sided centre-back. How good of a deal is that to then sign him on a new contract?
Yeah, it's really important. Obviously, we're not in the best situation at the moment. If you're a young player, obviously you want to look moving forward, try and find a club that's going to help you and progress your career. Obviously, if you're at a club which is facing a relegation battle and someone that's not going to develop your career, then it's going to be a struggle. But I think this is a very important deal for the player and for us. And it's a much better option than Michael Keane, in my opinion. I wouldn't touch Michael Keane with a barge pole. He's not even championship standard. But I think having Branthwaite, having a young player that's eager, that's ready, I think that's a very good move for us.
Thanks, John. Thanks to those in the comments watching. I know it's a bit impromptu, but it is breaking news, and it'll only be about 10 minutes long today. But of course, if you're watching back and watching live, please make sure you like and subscribe. As you said, much better option than Keane, although I still think Keane could play a part in a back five, as he did against Villa occasionally. You never know. Maybe I'm just deluded on that one. But
I really hope not.
Get the fishing rod out. But on Jarrad Branthwaite, yeah, it's hard to find left-footed centre backs, and it's certainly hard to find them with that profile. 6'5". There's a lot of speed about him. He's good on the ball, and he can use his right foot as well. He's just not a complete lefty. So there's a lot of balance he brings to that defence and composure. I think he's only going to get better as he matures and understands the game better. We haven't really seen him against top opposition yet, apart from Arsenal, where we didn't lay a glove. But there's plenty to come, and I think this is really good for all parties, really. The way I see it, he had a 2-year contract with an option for a 3rd year. So he's effectively on a 3-year deal, and he was on £750,000 a year. And I think his agent will have said, look, that's, your market rental is wages is probably around 50,000-60,000 a week at the moment, at least. Based on the fact you're playing every game and you've got someone like Keane on 90k and he doesn't play, or Godfrey on 60,000. So at least 50,000-60,000 I think he'll be on now. Possibly more. I imagine it'll be 50, then 60, then 70. Then maybe it'll go up every year incrementally. But his agent will have said, look, Everton could stand firm here and not actually give you a new contract, and you could be here for 3 years on £750,000 a year. Now, to me and you, we'd snap your hand off. But in this context, for Branthwaite, he's probably thinking I should be getting 2, 3, 4 million a year. Well, at least a couple of million, double or treble his wages. So his agents probably said you should take this and sign a new contract, and you'll have plenty of room for if you need to move in the future. If Everton get relegated or if Everton don't progress, we'll have some reassurances there that you can move on. But in the short term, and it's not a short term, it's 4 years. It'll be 25 when this contract goes. He'll be earning good salary and hopefully he can kick on. And if he goes in 3 years' time or 2 years' time, at least it'll be for a really good fee, John, and we'll get the player for that and we can reinvest. But it's a good sign that we've actually managed to convince him. Although, you can say, well, yeah, of course, he wants to treble his wages, and Everton can stand firm and not sell him and keep him on low wages. He's going to want to do that. It's only an extra year in reality. But I think it's a coup. I think it is, given where we're at the moment.
Because he's 21, he's got his whole career ahead of him. Centre back's a position we've struggled with. Obviously, we don't have Conor Cody anymore. I would have loved to see him stay on. Excellent as a sweeper defender. But I think Branthwaite will fit right into the team. And before, you were using a lot of keywords which are very important. He has composure, which just completely flies out the window with certain other players. He can be part of a unit. He's young, and players like Garner as well. The young ones are the ones that care. They play for the shirt, they give the passion, and the fans respect that and care for it. So I think he'll do really well. And another thing you said was left-footed, but he can use his right. He's not got two left feet, so he knows what he's doing. And hopefully, under some of the more senior players, if Coleman comes back, then they can really guide him and instruct him and get out of his ability.
Yeah, I kind of wish Coleman was a left back, to be honest, to tuck it in there, but he's a right back, and I think I want to see Patterson in right back, but okay, I'm going completely off. I'm doing any handouts. He's in England under 21 international. He's only played twice because he's got some good players in front of him. I think one of them is Levi Colwill at Brighton, who's now gone back to Chelsea. But you suspect Colwill will end up in the senior setup, and Branthwaite will take that under 21 spot on. He's been called up again, and I think he'll just go strength to strength and end up in that England team at some point ahead of Maguire. People are talking about that in the comments. So I think, you look
got a lot of young talent coming in and ready to go. You see it not just in centre backs, but across the pitch. And Branthwaite's one of them that could excel, but obviously needs game time, which he hasn't really had. So I'm glad to see he's got this contract and we can actually put him in the first team as a regular starter.
Football, you've got to remember, is very reactionary, John. And if Branthwaite has one good season here with 3 years on his deal, he's a £60 million centre half. It doesn't take an awful lot. You see it all the time. And that's, pretty pure profit, paid £1 million for him. You could see him going next summer for big bucks and, Everton reinvesting. I mean, you hope you can keep the players into Bramley Moore, but just the dire straits that we're in, we have to be slightly realistic, and it is very unfortunate. But also, the non-cynic, and you could say, well, it's not cynical. If you went to 50 or 60 million, it's a lot of money. And, you've protected his value. And if we keep him and he does really well for us, then that's great. So it is what it is.
Still related. If you have Pickford and Branthwaite as well, they could build and develop that partnership. Obviously, Arsenal deciding not to play Ramsdale as their first keeper, and that sort of solidifies Pickford's role as England number one, because you can't play someone that isn't getting the game time. So to have those working together already at Everton could be a little nibble forward.
Unless you're Southgate. Just on Jarrad then, it's a 4-year contract for him. He had a 2-year plus 1 previously. It's 4 years, an extra year. I imagine his wages will be at least doubled, possibly trebled, and incremental increases. Just before we go to the comments, just looking at his statistics, 195 centimetres tall, left-footed, can play on the right as well. Shirt number 32. But what's most important is the very, very strong defensive attributes there on SofaScore. The way, if you look at his season heat map, I can't really bring it up on the screen, but he's very, very strong at coming across into that left back channel and covering Mykolenko when he goes forward, and that's something that's very important. The ability to cover him behind the fullbacks in that space, and he push forward as well and bring the ball up from the back. So you're seeing a lot of attributes there. For some reason, they say he has 0.6 shots per game. I'm not quite sure that's the case. I don't think he's had a shot. He's had 61 touches per game on average. He's kept no clean sheets. He makes 2 interceptions per game on average, makes 2 tackles per game on average, ball recovered per game 9 times on average, and he makes around 4 clearances per game. So I don't know how to interpret these stats, really.
We haven't really seen enough of him to be able to make a whole assessment on him. But from what we have seen, there is promise there. And if you give him the actual game time that he probably deserves, especially over other players, then I think we have a good talent on our hands in the making.
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to go from strength to strength, and I think it's a massive, massive coup. Got a friend of mine, Domino Chris, in the comments here. He said, "You sound like you've had some olive oil." Yes, my ears. Me and John were just talking off air. Bit too much wax or something blocked. Did the olive oil drops? Chris, being an American, has never heard of olive oil drops in your ear before, and thought I'm absolutely crazy. But Chris didn't know Branthwaite had a 2-year contract with an extra option for a third left. He thought he was expiring at the end of the season. So, who's the idiot now, Christopher? Let's go back to the comments here. Peter says, if you compared Branthwaite to Maguire, who would you say is actually worth 80 million? Well, I don't think either of them are worth 80 million. But I think Branthwaite, on potential and the fact that he's actually playing in the Premier League, has got the edge on him at the moment. Southgate's always going to pick his cronies. Mike says Branthwaite will be worth 50 million in 2 years' time. And how much is his wage? No idea.
I think I read somewhere that it was 3 million a year.
No, it was 750 originally. Is you think he's gone to 3 mil?
I think so. Let me do some research as you go through the comments.
We're not in a position of any authority with 2,500 subscribers. The Blues, he says, I was telling people he was a top talent of similar level to Onana when he was at loan at PSV, and it's just said he's a poor league. Well, yes, I know there was the cynical approach, he's only playing in Holland, but I think when you know, sometimes you know, and I think Everton were fully aware that he was going to come back in and do something special, but the fans were a little bit unsure. We wanted him in because the other options weren't looking very good, but he's proven to be great, and Everton have been proved right not actually signing a centre-back, I think. You got anything else to add, John?
Not from me. Obviously, we're in the position we are. There are a lot of mistakes that our players have made in the past, which are just simple, shouldn't be happening, and it costs us heavily. So to bring in someone that, as you say, is composed, calm, under pressure, and can play out the back and provide assistance to the rest of the defence, then it is very promising. And I think, obviously, you can not score that many goals in a game. If you just score one a game, but you keep a clean sheet, it makes all the difference. Obviously, we've struggled going forward. So if we can cut out the errors in the back, then you only need 1 goal a game and 3 points is yours. So I think it's a very contract signing, and good luck to him.
Defensively, we've been very poor, and I will ask you just before we go as well. I just want to apologise to people. I haven't got the laptop set up with the professional mic, and I know it's not as clear sound, but I think the picture's fine. I know the backdrop's a bit of a mess as well because it's designed for using the laptop setup. But for some reason in this office, despite being in a small 3-bedroom terraced house, I can't get the Wi-Fi working very strongly up here in this office. So I'm going to get an extender and resolve this problem as an immediate priority. But I hope it's okay for now. John, I want to ask you about Saturday's game since I've got you here. Playing Bournemouth at home, and it's a must-win again. Mostly the fact you can't drop points against a team that's below you and also in the bottom 3. We beat them 1-0 last season.
God,
where are you at with this ahead of the game?
Look, I know the term must win, 6 points, as all these terms are being thrown out. And yes, it obviously is against Bournemouth, who, again, are a team that are struggling. We've just come from beating Villa away in the Cup and Brentford away, which are 2 games you would have expected us to get heavily beaten in. And we won. So clearly the team are capable of doing things. But then it is inexcusable to then go and lose to Luton at home the very next game. It's unfathomable how you can go from strength to strength and then straight back down to where you start. And Luton, again, was a must-win game. And you've seen it in previous seasons, and you're seeing it now as well. We lost to Wolves, who I think are going to struggle this season. We're losing to Luton, who, again, will be in the relegation battle with us. We can't keep giving the points to the teams that we are battling with. That was the reason last season why it was so tense and so stressful, because we lost to... I think it was 4 weeks or 5 where we'd lost to the team that was 20th in a row. We'd lost to like West Ham, Wolves, Bournemouth. We lost to all of them in a row. And we're just giving the teams around us a fighting chance. If we had beaten those games, those teams, and taken 3 points off them instead and got away from them, we wouldn't need to beat Villa or Brentford and all these high pressure games instead. So obviously, Bournemouth is a very important game. We need to bounce back and bounce back quickly. And get the points that we need, especially to put pressure on.
Important. the Luton game and the Bournemouth game are arguably more important than the derby, because Liverpool aren't going to be at the bottom of the league, and getting 3 points off Liverpool, as good as that would feel, in the grand scheme of things, if you look at the bigger picture, it's not as important as taking 3 points off a Luton or a Bournemouth, who we need to finish above them, because they're going to be at the bottom of the league in direct competition with us.
Yeah.
For the of 17th place. So Bournemouth is a massive, massive game. You take 3 points off Bournemouth, you give some separation between the teams. You lose to Bournemouth but beat Liverpool. It's not as, in the short term, you might feel fantastic, but by May, you've gifted 3 points. And I think Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Burnley and Luton are going to be the bottom four. And I think Everton will finish 16th. But it'll be by the skin of our teeth, and it won't be because we're good, because we haven't really shown. And I think XG and all that means nothing when you can't put the ball in the net and you're conceding 2 goals every game. For me, that's also on the manager, because I look at the group, Jonathan. Some good players there. Beto, Calvert-Lewin, Harrison, Danjuma, can't get in the team. Doucouré, Garner, Onana. I'm sorry, I think the fullback areas are weak, but Patterson should be getting in there and making that his own. But this should be better than those, at least.
Yeah, and as you say, Bournemouth is so important. I actually, in recent years, haven't actually cared about Liverpool at all. Obviously, it's great when they lose; it's fun to see. But I've been so focused on us doing well. And in the past, when we were a mid-table team, couldn't really challenge for anything like Europa League, but then also weren't getting relegated. We were just sat in the middle. I would love to see Liverpool lose, and that was the only joy I would get. Whereas now, it's so much more focused on us doing well. And as you say, we have a team that can do well. We just need to have the chemistry, get it going, and cut out the stupid errors, because we're not a team that deserves to be down. Last season, it was, I think, a massive survival. And obviously, last game of the season, we won it, and it was against Bournemouth. We can beat them. I think the difference is, last season, I would have put us in the worst 3 teams in the league, and we did well to survive. This season, I think there are 3 teams at least that are worse than us. So we should be able to survive much easier. But if we keep giving the points away to those teams, then we're just aiding them in survival, and we're putting ourselves further and further down. So again, it's a crucial game which we have to win.
I also would go on to say that the Luton game wasn't as big as the Bournemouth match, because I think Luton will be relegated regardless of whether we give them points this season or not. But I think Bournemouth won't necessarily be relegated. So if we were to give them the points, it would be catastrophic. I mean, the teams you can't lose are the ones at the bottom, and we know where we stand. I think last season it was very unclear who was going to go in and around the bottom. I think the first relegation battle we were okay until December. We had clinged on some points from Rafa, and we didn't really know where we were. And then we kind of looked around in January and we're like, shit, we're right at the bottom here, and we're actually in trouble. And it was skin of the teeth moment. Last season, it was just dreadful throughout the full 38 games. And we knew from pre-season we were terrible. We knew with the lack of signings and the lack of strikers and the injuries that we were always going to be there. We've foreseen it. It happened. It was torture. It was 38 games of misery. It was 9 months of hell. And you escaped on the last day with 35 minutes to go. We haven't seemed to have kicked on. We're still at the bottom. I'm turning into a rant here. We're still at the bottom. We've not kicked on. We've got better players, I think. A lot of this is on the manager. I think he's got to really do well here. And, we've got to kick on. And if we don't beat Bournemouth, if we lose to Bournemouth, the fans will turn. Some fans will absolutely turn. They're already turned. I mean, I cut out something from his press conference yesterday on Twitter where he was asked about James Garner. He said, some people are asking about Garner on the wing. And Dyche went, who? What people? And normally Dyche does these things with a good humorous tone to him and a tongue-in-cheek attitude. But that time it didn't come across to me. I'm normally really good at picking up on that. But it didn't. I didn't interpret it as a humour. I interpreted it as snappy and an unwillingness to be challenged and a level of arrogance that actually won't reflect well. And I put that on Twitter and copied it out, and it had like 50,000 views, 50 people 50 people or so like quoting it and getting furious. And actually, I wasn't that mad about it. I was shocked, but it was amazing to see how many fans, hundreds of fans, from that have taken it to extreme levels, to the point where they despise him. And I was just thinking it was just a stupid comment, and he should be asked challenging questions. Otherwise, don't bother wasting my time and anyone else's time 15 minutes watching these press conferences, as all you're going to come out with is drivel and be evasive.
I think the problem is, at the moment, around Everton, there's a very short fuse with fans. And obviously, we all want better. We've been in this situation for years now, and we all deserve more. We're a very passionate, close club. And for someone to come in, if we don't see, I know it's hard and you have to give a manager time, but if you don't see that turnaround, or you don't see things working or improvement, it gets very frustrating and very short-tempered quite quickly, because we all deserve better. It's what we all want.
We have been, Jonathan. We've been patient. We've been
exactly.
very patient. 30 years of patience.
Turnaround, and if it doesn't come, then there is that anger there. But you mentioned about the table. I think another one that's almost guaranteed to go down is Sheffield United. I don't see them staying up. But again, the only point they have was the draw against us. It's us giving points to all these teams. Wolves, another one. I think they were.
Jonathan, just say it. Disgrace.
Sorry.
It's a disgrace. We've not played Brighton and lost. We've not played Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, even perhaps, who've got players who are strong on paper. We've not played quality teams and lost. We've played the Dregs, we've played Wolves, we've played Fulham, we've played Luton, we've played Sheffield.
We've played our relegation rivals and given them the points for it. It's like being in a fist fight with someone and giving your enemy like a gun or a sword. Like, you're giving them what they need and you're sinking us. But Bournemouth,
the problem is we don't play well when we have to break a team down. We have to take the onus on us. We're leaving the back doors open. We're not doing the details. And, Bournemouth are going to sit behind us. And how are we going to break them down? And that's my final question, John. What's your lineup and how are we going to break them down?
This has turned into a Bournemouth preview. I think we've had more shots in recent games. It looks like we're pushing forward more and we're having more attempts. Whereas last season, it looked like sometimes we didn't have any shots on target all game. And if you don't go forward, you have no chance at all. So I think sorry.
We just can't finish. We can't keep conceding.
I think the key is to just go at them. Be strong at the back. Be patient, but take your opportunities. Don't be afraid to have a shot. You need to test the keeper. If the keeper pushes it back and saves it, you never know where the ball's going to land and push it back into a danger area. That's the thing. So just be patient with it, but take the opportunities when they're there. If that's not a contradiction. But if we need to register the shots on target and try.
And your team, finally, before I let you go?
I think I need a bit more time to put that off the cuff. But obviously, Branthwaite starts. I'd have him in the middle with Tarkowski. I want to see Onana back in. People have been giving him stick recently as to him not performing, but I think he can provide a lot. A bit of physicality, bit of aggression. I want Garner, who's obviously got his first goal for the club. I like seeing him in. And then I want to have two up front. I want to have Calvert-Lewin and Beto. And I want them to have some shots on target and score some goals.
Part of me is thinking that Doucouré could be dropped in deeper and Danjuma could play behind Calvert-Lewin in a free role to kind of drift left, drift right, counter-attack, get up front. But I'm unsure about Harris right.
Sorry?
I'm unsure about the options, Harrison on the right and McNeil on the left. I don't know whether it's too predictable, both of them. So we'll have to see. I think they're going to be amazing away from home when you have to press high and pin on teams. But we need cutting edge. I think Danjuma gives you a little bit of unpredictability and that cutting edge.
With the
he's got to play as well.
Saved us quite a few times. He scored good goals against Brighton in the 5-1 win. He scored the winner and what kept us up against Bournemouth at the end of last season. He's got a bit about him. He's got a very good shot sometimes. So if you sit them too far back, then you won't utilise them either. But
I
it's
don't
nice
think
to see we've got a few attacking options now. Didn't have that for a very long time. So it's nice to see these players that can actually get forward and have a go.
John, thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and catch you again very soon.
See you after we win 10-0.
Yeah, I've sold my ticket for tomorrow because I'm working. But just with the times, I should be able to jump on at 4:45 from where I am and provide some match reaction. See you soon.
Enjoy the match, guys. Take care.